Welcome back. We're ready to start a new unit where we are analyzing proportional relationships and using them to solve real-world and mathematical problems. So today we're going to be focused on unit rates, including compound fractions and using ratios and ratio tables. So the materials that you will need are a pencil, notes 000, which is the Unit 3 vocabulary sheet, and note 16, which is your ratios and rates. Now that we're starting chapter 5, you can also use a calculator, and I'd like you to have one in front of you. So here we go. Unit 3 vocabulary. If you haven't already, label this one 000. And so some quick definitions. A ratio compares two numbers using division, and we can write it with a colon, with the word 2 in between, or listed as a fraction. A rate is the ratio of two quantities measured in different units. So for example, steps to seconds. And a unit rate is a rate with a denominator of 1 unit. So 45 miles per hour is the same as 45 miles divided by 1 hour. It's a unit rate because it's per hour, 1 unit. Pause the video and write down these 3 vocabulary words. Now let's take a look at our ratios notes. So if you haven't labeled this note 16, please label this notes 16. So like we talked about already, a ratio just compares two numbers, and they can be written in 3 different forms, which we already discussed. So the ratio of moons to stars, we always go in order from left to right. So there are 1, 2, 3 moons. So that's listed first. To stars. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. So the ratio of moons to stars would be 3 to 5 or 3/5. Now, if it says the ratio of stars to moons, we would reverse that. And we want to write it in all 3 ways. So we write it as 5 to 3 with the colon and as an improper fraction this time. So the order does matter. When we translate word problems, we need to write them in fraction form. That allows us to deal with them more easily, whether we need to simplify them, multiply them, add, subtract, or divide them. So here's our first example. What is the ratio of vowels to total number of letters in the word number? So we have the word number, and it's asking us, what are we comparing? The ratio of vowels to total number of letters. So as you'll see, my labels are vowels in the numerator because it came first to total number of letters. So all we need to do is count the number of vowels and put that next to the vowels column. So there are 1, 2 vowels, the U and the E. So we have a 2 indicating our vowels, and total letters, N-U-M-B-E-R, that is 6 letters. So we have a ratio of 2 to 6. But that's not the final answer. Why? You guessed it, because we need to simplify. So therefore, if we simplify 2/6 by dividing by 2, we get a ratio of 1 to 3. So our final ratio would be one of these formats. So we're going to use that chart format very often, so get comfortable with it. Let's try A together. Derek answered correctly 45 of 50 problems on a math test. What is the ratio of the number of correct answers to the number of test problems? Notice that 2 is what separates our labels. So what would our numerator label be? It's the first thing, number of correct answers. Number of correct answers. And we're comparing that to the number of test problems. Well, it told us that he answered 45 correctly. So our 45 would be our numerator. And how many problems were on the test? There was 50. So that will be our denominator. We're going to go ahead and simplify by dividing by what factor? Did you say 5? Correct. And so that's going to get us 9/10. Since the instructions say to write the ratio in 3 different ways, we already have the fraction version. So we'll also write it with the word 2, and we'll also write it with the colon. And so there is our ratio. You try B. So now let's talk more specifically about unit rates. A rate is a ratio of two quantities measured in different units. And like we mentioned before, a unit rate has a denominator of 1 unit. It's really important. Now, when you see question types asking you for the unit rate, they might appear in several different ways. You might see them in any of these ways plus more. They might say, what is the rate of pay? Or what is the hourly wage? How much does each cost? Which is the better buy, or who had the better average? Or what was the price per gallon or per yard or per ounce? All of these questions are asking you to find the unit rates. All right, so let's try some examples. Do you have that calculator handy? I hope so. All right. John earned $135 for 25 hours of work. What is John's rate of pay? Again, you see that rate of pay? That's asking us for the unit rate. So we have to figure out what our labels are going to be. Well, we know that we're talking about per hour, money, and then hours. So I'm going to put hours as the denominator. So I could say maybe money earned per hour. So he earned $135 for 25 hours of work. But again, this is asking for the unit rate. So we know that the denominator is going to have to be 1. So what do I need to divide 25 by to make it become 1? 25. So whatever I divide the denominator by to make that a unit rate, I would divide the numerator as well. And here's where your calculator comes in. Divide 135 by 25 in your calculator, and you'll see that we get 5 4/10. But again, we're talking about money. So how much money is this? Yeah, it's $5.40 per what? Per hour. And so there's your unit rate, leading us to choice B. Let's try another. Take a look at number 2. Ben bought 6 cans of vegetables for $1.98. How much did each cost? There it is. Again, how much did each cost? It's asking us to find the unit rate. So what are our labels this time? What are we comparing? Do we usually say cans per cost? Is that what our labels would say? Or might we say actually cost per can? Oops, cost per can. Which one do we usually say? This one, cost per can, right? How much does it cost per can? So those are the labels that we're going to use, cost per can. Well, how much did it cost? $1.98. For how many cans? 6. And again, since it's asking us for the unit rate, we know we need the denominator to be 1. So what can we divide the denominator by to make it 1? 6. Exactly. So we'll divide the numerator by that as well. Again, here's where your calculator comes into play. And if you divide, you'll see that we have this. What does that mean? Well, it means it costs 33 cents per can. So we'll write that as a sentence. It costs 33 cents per can of what? Vegetables. We're going to skip 3 and 4 for right now, and we're going to come back. But go ahead and cross out number 3. We're going to use this space for number 4 when we come back to it. All right. Let's try one more together. A 12-ounce can of soup costs $1.56. What is the price per ounce? There it is again. Price per ounce. What is it asking us to find? That's right, the unit rate. And we need our labels again. So what do you think? It says per ounce, price per ounce. So price per ounce, right? This division line, this fraction bar says per, just like per means to divide. So we have $1.56 was the cost or the price for how many ounces? For 12 ounces. And again, it's asking us for the unit rate. So once again, we know our denominator has to be 1. So what do we need to divide by? 12. Exactly. Time for your calculator. Divide $1.56 by 12. And we see we end up with a small amount of change here. So let's write a quick sentence. The price per ounce is, how much money was that? 13 cents. You try number 6. A truck driver traveled 290, that should say miles. So go ahead and add that in there. Miles in 5 hours. What was his average speed? Was average speed one of those questions that's asking us still to find the unit rate? It is. Take a look up at the top. Set that up and solve it. Try number 7. Peter's bus traveled 630 miles in 10.5 hours. What was the average speed of the bus? You see it again. Number 8. A water tank will hold 50 gallons. What flow rate in gallons per second is required to fill the tank in 20 seconds? What are those labels going to be? What are we comparing? Gallons per what? Exactly. Gallons per second. Good job. See you next time.